One Productions.
Hey, what's up guys? Maka here with my top 10 most anticipated games of 2017. We're going to take a look into the future. I'm going to tell you what games I'm excited for this year in a top 10 list manner. And this is, again, as always, my personal list. Feel free to share your own most anticipated games, the games you're most looking forward to, the most hyped for, in the comments down below. I'd love to know what you guys are excited to see. A couple of quick rules. The game has to be confirmed for 2017, so I don't have games like Death Stranding or Days Gone on my list because they won't be coming out. I have to believe that the game won't get delayed until 2018, so unfortunately God of War didn't make my list because I'm very doubtful it's going to be out this year, and it has to be like a full game coming out for 2017 with a good chance that it's actually going to be out. 3 games that are on my honorable mentions are Sea of Thieves, Detroit Become Human, and Prey. These are games I'm excited for, but I don't really know much about yet. I'd like to see more, but I'm intrigued. Anyways, let's just get into the top 10. Starting off the countdown at number 10, I have Mass Effect Andromeda, and I have a little bit of a gaming confession to make. I've never played a Mass Effect game, but this one has me a little bit intrigued. The first time I saw gameplay, I wasn't really that impressed, but most recently I saw gameplay from PSX, and I was more intrigued than before. I'm excited to try my first Mass Effect game. This will also be the first one on current gen consoles, which should also be a added plus. The graphics look good, the gameplay and gameplay mechanics look engaging, and I think as an overall package, it'll have a lot of value in terms of its length and what it has in the game. So it should be a fun game, and that's why it's in at my number 10 spot, even though I don't have too much to say about it. Coming in at number 9 is a game that I had in my video last year, but it's actually ranked lower than it was before because I'm anticipating the game slightly less, and that's Halo Wars 2. Now, I know the game will look great, I know the game will sound great, I hope that it doesn't have performance issues, and I think it'll have a really good tie-in terms of story towards like the Halo series and Halo 6. But I was a little bit underwhelmed by what I've played of the beta, what I've seen of the campaign, and the announcement of the Blitz mode. I'm sure I'll enjoy my time with Halo Wars 2, but I have a feeling that it'll just be more Halo Wars and not better Halo Wars, so it's not necessarily something I get super hyped about. I'm still excited to get my hands on the final version in February though. In at the number 8 position, I have Crackdown 3, which was also on my list last year, and since I put it on my list, there has been a complete radio silence about what's going on with Crackdown 3. They've literally released just about nothing. Now, it's definitely possible that they've run into some hiccups, which is a normal part of game development, but what I'm hoping for is that it's because they're working on new and advanced technologies that they're going to incorporate into the game, and then these technologies can be carried forward into other games. For example, the cloud computing they mentioned when they announced some of the multiplayer stuff about a year ago. And that's actually what gets me most excited, is the potential of Crackdown 3 and the new technologies that could come with it. That gets me really excited for gaming as a whole and not just for Crackdown 3. It's also been quite a long time since Crackdown 2, and there's not many games that are filling that void at the moment, so it should be good fun. In at the number 6 position, I have a Nintendo game. What? Yeah, so The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a game I got to try at E3. It's a game I've seen a lot of gameplay for. It's going to be a game that's a Switch launch title, and there's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of things that could go right for this game, and from what I've played, they're definitely on the right track. They've been working on this game for a long time. It's been 5 years since Skyward Sword and basically 10 years since Twilight Princess, so there's definitely a lot of want for a new Zelda game, and this game should deliver, but also be different, because they're working on like this open world thing where you can kind of do what you want and how you want while still progressing through the story, and it's not going to be super linear or tied to doing specific things that the game wants you to do, and that could really play out well. Zelda games are usually an easy bet in terms of their quality and how fun they are to play, and because the game has been delayed, I'm really hoping that every little problem has been completely ironed out and that the game releases more or less flawlessly. Adding to that is the potential of the Nintendo Switch, and hopefully the game utilizes all of the functionalities there, and we could have a really great game on our hands. And at the number 6 position, I have South Park Fractured But Whole, and this game is simply just going to be an absolute blast to play, and it's going to be fun, and good times are going to be had by all with a sense of humor. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a huge South Park fan, but I do definitely find their brand of comedy funny, and South Park: The Stick of Truth was one of the better games I played the year it came out. I was pleasantly surprised by the in-depth RPG elements and how well the game actually played as a game, aside from the fact that the art style is great and that the game is hilarious. And I think that this new game playing on the DC versus Marvel rivalry is pretty genius. Now, I don't know how many more delays are in this game's future or whether or not they're going to try to time the release of this game with a superhero movie, but when we do get it sometime in 2017, I'm going to be really excited to play it. In at the number 5 position, I have Resident Evil 7, and the horror genre is not a genre that I necessarily play a lot, but it is a genre that I really enjoy if done correctly. Now, Resident Evil 4 is the pinnacle of the series, and I think Capcom realized they'll never really reach that peak again. So what they did is they basically completely reinvented the game, and now it's also in first person. I personally think that this game is going to strike a pretty excellent balance of action, combat, and horror, and hopefully it's just twisted enough to tie everything together. I'm excited for the edge of my seat gameplay, and hopefully all of the puzzles are like really cool and in-depth without being frustrating and stupid. And hopefully we get a really great Resident Evil game, because it's been a really long time since we've had one. Also, I was pretty disappointed when they canceled PT, but this seems to fill that gap perfectly. Next up is a game that I didn't expect to be this high on my list, but when I was piecing everything together and thinking about what I've played, what I enjoyed, and what I'm looking forward to, it's in at the number 4 position, and that's For Honor. When For Honor was first announced, I thought, oh great, yet another hack and slash game that I'm never gonna care about. But then I realized that the combat's actually super in-depth, and it plays more like a rock, paper, scissors game than just a Mash X game. There's surprisingly a lot of strategy in For Honor, and that became very apparent to me when I played the online alpha earlier last year. I think the gameplay they have there is really solid, and as long as there's enough content like maps and game modes in the online, people should have a really great time with this game, and I'm really looking forward to having a little bit of strategic battles with friends against other teams in a game that's primarily focused on hand-to-hand combat. I think For Honor is a little bit of a risky move for Ubisoft, but it's also something that hasn't really been explored, and for those reasons, I'm super excited. In at the number 3 position is a game that was in the number 3 position in last year's video, and that is Horizon Zero Dawn. The game is obviously beautiful, and the idea of tribal combat versus mechanized dinosaurs seems very intriguing to me, and some of the hints at the gameplay mechanics I've seen could tie in very well together. I do have a few concerns about whether or not this will be a tech demo similar to the Order 1886, where you only really get to experience one thing one time and then the game just moves forward and forgets about everything you ever learned. But if implemented correctly in an open world, this game could be fantastic. I think the game could also have a very strong story and narrative, and hopefully it does a really good job of making you feel powerful, yet vulnerable at the same time. And because you are taking on these huge beasts, they've definitely hinted at stealth mechanics, and I absolutely love stealth games. So if stealth is implemented correctly here, we could have like the total package. Personally, for me, I think the game might be a little bit too centered on RPG elements, and I'm really hoping it's not a create-your-own-adventure type of game like Minecraft or No Man's Sky. Either way, I'm really excited to play this game in only a couple of months. In at my number 2 position, I have Red Dead Redemption 2, and we all know that Rockstar creates incredible games, and this one looks like another one that they can add onto the list. In my opinion, Grand Theft Auto 5 is probably the best open world game I have ever played, and if Red Dead Redemption 2 can somehow manage to take it a step further from there, then it will be nothing short of a masterpiece. Now, honestly, we don't know a lot about the game other than that it's set in the Red Dead Redemption universe, so obviously it's a Western We saw a little bit of a teaser trailer, and honestly, it could very well be delayed to 2018, but nonetheless, a new game from Rockstar is something to get excited about in my opinion, and I'm very excited to just get my hands on it and see more of it and get to play it eventually. And last but not least, my number one personal most anticipated game of 2017 is Ghost Recon Wildlands. Yep, that's right. I played this game at E3 and had so much fun. The Ghost Recon franchise is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I grew up playing some of the older ones. And although Wildlands is very, very different, it also shares a lot in common, and that is the tacticality of the gameplay and hopefully the co-op nature of how everything is implemented. When I played it at E3, it almost felt like a little bit of a co-op stealth game, which is something that I haven't really ever seen before, and I think it's cool that you can switch from third person to first person basically on the fly, and that both of the gameplay types feel different, but they also both feel very solid. Some of my favorite gaming memories are playing Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter co-op missions with my friends, and this game made me feel a lot of the same emotions. I really like the setting of Bolivia, and the story that we're trying to fight a cocaine drug cartel is intriguing. It's also going to be pretty cool and unique to see this game in an open world, and that might be the best part of it, but I'm also a little bit concerned that it might be the worst part of the game, because I think that going from location to location, hopping in and out of helicopters and cars, and traveling to locations to get to action is not really going to be my favorite part, and I think it's a little bit of an unnecessary part. I would rather just go from mission to mission personally, but the open world might end up working really well, who knows. I said this on the TXR podcast right after E3, I think that Ghost Recon was the best game I played at E3, and the game that I'm most excited for. It's the one game that I wish I could play more of since I first tried it, and for all those reasons combined, it's definitely my most anticipated game of the year, and luckily I only have to wait a couple of months to play it, so I'm really excited to get there. Hopefully this also signals the resurgence of old school Ubisoft franchises, and hopefully next year that means we get a Splinter Cell. And that's it. That's the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to keep it brief. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Special thanks to Drop That Artemis for supporting the show on Patreon, and hopefully I see you guys next time. Peace.